98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Alex Urbina Radio Show. We're broadcasting live from beautiful Newhall, California, right here in your hometown station, KHTS. Joining me in studio, I have a special guest. His name is Mark Urbina. Yes, he is my son, approaching 30. Are you not?
Close.
Welcome to the show.
Close.
Today we're going to be talking about the 7 things a son needs from his father. And we're going to just open up a discussion and go through the 7 things. I found this actually off the internet. Thought it was pretty cool. And we'll just kind of talk about it. We'll go through, we'll go from backwards from the top to the bottom.
7 to 1.
We'll go to 7 to 1. Here we go. Number 7, your son needs you to discipline him in love. When you discipline your son, you set boundaries and expectations. He's going to make mistakes just like you did as a kid and just like you do now. But he also needs to know that his actions have consequences, and disciplining him in love will teach him to consider the consequences that his actions have caused. And this will prepare him to think and evaluate the choices he makes both now and in the future. Why do you think this is important to discipline your son, but in a loving way?
I think, obviously every parent disciplines their kids when they do something wrong, but it's a different, place when you're doing it with love, because you're doing it knowing that they're going to learn from that mistake. I think as a kid, you obviously never understand that, why their parents are disciplining you or grounding you. You just think they're bad and wrong. But, for me, when I got older, I finally realized all that, work that you put in to discipline me and show me, morals and kind of set these rules and boundaries for me. Now that I'm older, I'm able to appreciate, certain situations I get caught in. I know not to do this because I was, kind of trained or taught, if I do this, this is wrong. Don't do this. Or, if I do this, I get in trouble. So,
yeah, and I think it's important also to explain to your son and your kids that you're going to discipline them with the intention for them to learn specific rules in your home that are going to be the framework for which they have to follow rules out in the real world.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'll tell my clients, if they're parents, your job is to not only set those boundaries and set those rules so that you teach or train your kids to learn that there's boundaries and they go beyond them, that there might be consequences or prices to pay. And what you're doing is you're setting them up with the tools to learn where that line is, to decide for themselves that if they do cross over, then there's a price to pay. And if they stay underneath it, then there might not necessarily be a price to pay. But you're really training them to be able to leave your home and go out into the world and be successful people in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to even explain that to your kids. To really, like you said just a few minutes ago, sometimes we don't even really know why we're being disciplined or why there are rules in the first place. And what would it look like if you actually sat your son and daughter down when they're young and say, this is why we have rules, so that you can learn a certain behavior pattern, or you can develop certain tools that are going to support you in the future. You might not understand it now, but you're going to thank me later when you're 19, when you're 25, when you're out there in the real world. You're going to have already just developed this, because it's like breathing, right?
Yeah. I think it actually creates a different relationship when you communicate with your kids and say, because I feel like as generations prior, that they don't know why they're doing it. They just know my parents did this to me, so I'm doing this to you, But, now as we're kind of understanding it a little bit better, if you communicate with your kids, hey, this is, obviously for your future, for your family, for your life and career, I think it tees it up to where the kids can kind of understand it a little bit more and not resent you or be angry all the time at why I'm grounded, or, not understanding that it's for a purpose.
And I think that you explaining to your son or daughter what the rules are and the consequences and the prices they're going to have to pay, you might have to explain that to them probably 10 dozen times
Of course.
in the history of
Yeah.
being their parents, until they finally get to a stage where they just go, ah, Dad, now I know why you did that, until it just becomes so apparent, because they're going to forget. And in their forgetfulness, they're going to go back to default into, you just hate me. You just want my life to be miserable, because you don't have your life of your own. You just, you just get off on, punishing me. And so they're going to very easily always want to default back to that place. And you're going to have to keep reminding them, no, this is why I'm doing this. It's for the long run. It's so that you start to think about some of the choices you make and try to foresee what the consequences might be. I really look at it as a training for mindfulness. You're teaching your kids that I got to start learning how to be mindful of the choices I'm going to make, because each choice has a consequence, whether it's a positive choice or a negative choice. Because in the world we live in, there's cause and effect.
Yeah.
Whatever your choice is you're going to cause something to happen, and there's going to be effect, and it's going to come back to you. Yeah. So I think if you're really sitting down with your kids and having these discussions, you're really setting them up to win.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
And doing it in a loving way, right?
Yeah, there's obviously, there could be different variables of what that looks like. And, for me, I think, with my experience of getting in trouble, it always, how you said, you kind of weigh out the options. Do I go to this event, or do I stay out late and, get in trouble? Is it going to be worth it? Is it worth me getting grounded for a week? Sometimes, as a kid, I made those decisions knowing what the consequences were going to be, and I still chose that thing. And I remember it got to a certain point where, you had to come up with new creative ways to ground me or take things away, or, you can't, the same punishment also doesn't always work.
That's right.
You got to get creative.
I think if I remember correctly, it was like, all right, I'll take that. You know what I mean? Because the instant gratification of another 2 hours of hanging out, past curfew or whatever it was like, hey, I'll pay the price.
Yeah.
And then you got to ask yourself, maybe the consequences aren't really consequences for some of your kids. They're like, hey, I can tough out a week of no phone if I get to have this do this, risky behavior or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, here's number 6. Number 6 is your son needs you to affirm him. I love you, son. I'm proud of you, son. You're amazing, son. I know you can do it, son. That was amazing, the play you made. Great try. You're a hard worker. You messed up, but I know you'll bounce back. Your son needs your encouragement. He needs to hear the words that lets him know that you have his back, and that you love having him as your son, and you enjoy being his father. And do you think this is important, to constantly be affirming your son on an ongoing basis?
I think this one is a little interesting because I do believe that is necessary, but I also, from you, I got a lot of. It's funny because I now implement it in my life and in my relationships. Is it in a way it's kind of like saying you can't do it, and then it challenges me now to want to do it and to succeed. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm glad you brought this up, because there are certain kids that if you tell them they can't do it, they have the type of personality where they're like, I'll show you I can do it, and it'll motivate them. Yeah. But I didn't get that from you. I remember when you were younger, if I attempted to throw that challenge at you, like, well, we'll see if you can do it. Mm-hmm. There were certain times that would motivate you, and there are other times where I saw that it deflated you.
Yeah, it depended on my confidence in the situation. If I really didn't think I could do it,
that's right.
I could tell that you seen my lack of confidence, and you reaffirmed that I can do it. When you knew I could do something, and I actually knew it, you challenge me to not only do it but to succeed it at a higher level.
And that took a little bit of a heightened awareness and a real intentful observation as a father,
Yeah.
to really know your son, and know them a little bit better than they know themselves.
Yeah.
You gotta be kind of the leader, and that's really observing and watching and seeing, and then dangling that carrot out in front of them. So you have to really
The balance.
and know that you have multiple tools in your tool belt. But I do believe that, you know, the authentic affirmations that your son needs to hear is important. And the reason why I know that is because I was a son at one point, and there were times that I just yearned for, I wish my dad would just say, "Hey, good job."
Yeah.
Or, "Hey, I'm proud of you." And not always make it about succeeding.
Yeah.
That if I got an attaboy or "I'm proud of you," even when I failed, that meant probably more to me than it did getting an attaboy when I succeeded at something.
Yeah, I think as a kid, you know, you look up to your father, and at any time that, you know, you get that reassurance, you know, it just feels good to know that, you know, you care and that you are watching, you know, anything, you know, as a kid, you want that reassurance, you know, especially from your parents.
And I think also having a little bit of an experience and an awareness of looking at you as a dad, and the downfalls or the shortcomings that you've had, or the new awarenesses that you've discovered about yourself in your own journey as an entrepreneur or as a leader out in the world or chasing after your own dreams. If you can pass some of that, you know, in the advice or the affirmations onto your son, I think is important too. And letting them know, you know, it's kind of like, what did I need to hear when I was
Yeah.
a son from my dad?
Yeah.
And am I the one who's now giving that and being that for him with my own son? Or am I being just like my dad was to me, who was
Yeah.
really hard on me and beating me up when I was already beating myself up, right? It's
Yeah.
like, if you were having the experience of your dad kicking you and you were down, and now you're just now doing that to your son, then you're not breaking
Yeah.
any old patterns. You're not reinventing yourself as a parent. You're not showing up as inspirational. You're just, you know, causing more pain onto your own son, because that's just, you know, your justification is that's what my dad did to me, right?
Yeah, and I think as, you know, the generations are evolving, I've been seeing and noticing more and more of that. You know, I think, you know, your dad treated you a certain way, and I think just my experience, you shifted the whole concept of, just because my parents did it to me, I'm going to do it to you. And I think you broke that, and, you know, you showed me a different side of, you know, being a solid parent. And I think I'm going to also, you know, do that to my family and my kids. And I hope that my kids do it. And, you know, as generations go on, that, you know, the family now becomes a very strong, you know, unit, very powerful, and like we move a certain way, rather than just being stuck in this, like, always kicking each other down, like, you know, the family always, you know, hating each other or not, you know, communicating properly. There's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't change those things through the generations.
And I think, you know, another aspect I want to talk about when it comes to affirming your son, a lot of times it doesn't necessarily have to be words either, even though words are great if you can learn how to be creative enough to articulate how proud you are of him.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be words. They could be just a look. They could be a smile. I remember when I was a kid, I remember when I played Little League baseball, and, you know, I got a base hit, and as I'm, you know, getting on first base or rounding it and getting back on base, the first thing I did was I looked over to the crowd, and I remember seeing my dad with his hand and his fist up in the air, like kind of like going, you know, it was a gesture like,
Yeah.
attaboy, like, good job,
Yeah.
right? And that just, it fueled me. It lit me up to be affirmed by someone else other than my own, you know, pride. You know what I mean? But to look over and see dad like cheering for me, or got the, you know, the fist up in the air, you know, or even clapping, was affirming. And so sometimes just a gesture, It could be a smile. It could be pointing at him with a, you know what I mean, or a thumbs up, or you know, we could do it different ways.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, as well as physical affirmation.
Yeah.
Sometimes intentionally, like I remember when you were growing up, and I'll sometimes do it now. I'll walk up and I'll just put my hand on your shoulder, or squeeze your hand on your shoulder, squeeze a little squeeze or a little nudge is letting you know, like, I'm here, or I got you back. They're statements, and they're not necessarily words of affirmation, but they're more gestures and more physical.
Yeah. I think there's, you know, obviously a balance and a combination of all those things to, you know, let your son know, like you said, I'm here.
I got your back. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And great job. All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the 7 things a son needs from his father. And we just went on number 7. We just talked about number 6. We're moving on to number 5. Number 5 is your son needs your love regardless of the choices that he makes. You may be, you know, one of the biggest sports junkies, not living in, you know, Bristol, Connecticut, where the USPN headquarters is. And your son might not be like, you know, the top quarterback of, you know, the high school football team or whatever it is. But no matter what your choices your son makes, he needs you to love him, even in the different choices that he makes that's different than yours. He needs to know that the choices you make is your journey, and that you need to figure out whether that choice is beneficial to you or not. And what he doesn't need is for you to get in there and start projecting your own fears onto the choices that he makes, but just create a safe space for you to figure out for yourself as the son that, hey, maybe that wasn't a smart choice, without dad always jumping in there. You know, out of 10 choices, you're there right there at 9 out of 10 telling them it wasn't a good choice. Yeah. But just to let you figure out for yourself whether the choice was good or not.
Yeah, I think growing up, I made a lot of, you know, maybe not bad decisions, but I made a lot of decisions about things I wanted to do and I wanted to experience. And I think, you know, there's plenty of times where you told me don't do that, or that's not the right decision. And I still made that choice. And I always remember you never were disappointed. And when I did come back to you saying, you know what, you're right, you never like held it above my head, or, you know, you never said I told you so. You always just gave me more advice to get past it, or to learn from it. And, you know, I really appreciate that, because you could have held it over my head or said, you know, I told you so, you should have listened to me, or, you know, you could have handled it that way. You always just continue to show that love and the support if I listen to you or not.
And you know what's amazing is, as you're sharing that, and I'm able to acknowledge the growth that I had at that time when you were a kid, I can now even see a wiser version of me that there's a whole nother level that I could have gone to, which was not even really say anything and just, like, you know, put my arm around you and just kind of comfort you, or just even in the silence, you know, let you know that it's okay, I still love you, right?
Yeah.
Or even just tell you, hey, it's all right, I still love you, and, you know, no choice you make is ever going to have me not love you. And, you know, you get to learn, you get to decide, or maybe even not give you the advice. Because even as you're reminding me that in those moments, I didn't make you bad and wrong, but gave you additional advice, the wiser version of me right now is saying that, why did you even give him the advice? He probably didn't even necessarily ask for it. So he, you know, and I think sometimes we got to trust that in the mistakes that our children have made, that they're capable of coming up with their own solutions and realizing their own. Or if you're beating yourself up, the last thing you want is your dad to come and pile on and start beating you up too, right? Yeah. You need to be the counterbalance and let them know that, hey, it's okay, I too have made those mistakes. Yeah. And this is what I found out, you know.
I think a lot of times kids don't maybe express that because they're afraid of, you know, if I tell my dad that he was right, that, you know, my dad is going to, you know, tell me or give his advice and tell me that I was wrong, you know. So a lot of kids may just shy away from even having that conversation, you know. So like you said, if you don't say anything at all, it opens it up for them to share more and to come to you with decisions.
And I think the key distinction here, number 5 says he needs your love regardless of the choices that he makes. I think just ending it with, you know what, son, no matter what choice you made or continue to make from now till your last breath, I'm always going to love you regardless.
Yeah.
And not take away the judgment of that I'm judging your choices, like one's good versus one's bad, and that your worth and love is dependent on, making more good choices versus bad choices. And then there's a higher level of what if you just decided that not to put judgment on choices anyways, and just decide that you're going to choose.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to deal with the consequences no matter what. I'm not going to label your choices anymore. And I'm just going to love you through the process of you making decisions and having to deal with the consequences that come with it.
Yeah.
And I think it frees your son up to really be accepted for who he is. And the love's not conditional based on making better choices versus not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina Radio Show. We come back on this station break.
At iLead Agua Dulce, we believe the most important thing a child can learn in school is who they are. Life's real tests are never standardized, which is why we've developed an individual-based curriculum that values exploration, cooperation, and creativity. As our learners grow, so do we. Our tuition-free charter school is currently enrolling grades TK through 7th and adding 8th grade in 2020. Your young learner will be immersed in a unique environment where possibility and self-discovery are at the core of every experience. The Agua Dulce campus features beautiful indoor and outdoor spaces for hands-on inspiration, including a robotics lab, a garden bed, a greenhouse, and a technology-based exploratorium. iLead Agua Dulce is conveniently located on the east side of the Santa Clarita Valley, just off the 14 freeway. Check out our homeschool options too. To schedule a campus tour or learn more about our programs, visit ileadaguadulce.org. We're enrolling now. iLead Schools. Free to think, inspired to lead.
Omelets or pancakes? You used to have to flip a coin, but not anymore. Because for a limited time, all 10 of our hearty omelets now come with unlimited pancakes. Which means this coin doesn't have to choose anymore.
What? I don't have to choose anymore? Ah! Later, choosers! I'm free!
Choose not to choose. Over 10 omelets now come with unlimited pancakes. At IHOP.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
This holiday music is brought to you by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, your community health partner. To learn more about their award-winning care, call 1-888-HEALING or visit online at providence.org/holycross.
Hometown, your hometown station.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina Radio Show, right here in your hometown station, KHTS. Today we're talking about the 7 things a son needs from his father. I have my own son in the studio with me, Mark Urbina, 30 years old. You've gone...
Not 30 yet.
I'm just going to give you the 30, man. You're going on 30, rounding 30, going on 40.
Close.
Yeah,
Close.
and you actually, you had your fair share of growing up and some challenges. As I had some challenges as a father, becoming more mindful, more conscious, more aware, and practicing being more loving, more accepting, learning how to inspire you versus projecting my own fears onto you. And what a challenge, what a gift. I never really got an opportunity to thank you for being my son and for taking everything that I've thrown at you in my learning curve as a father, and you were the first one, so you took a lot, and you took the brunt of some of the stuff that I had to overcome and the challenges that I had to go through. And I never thanked you for being loving and accepting and forgiving me for a lot of the mistakes that I've made.
Well,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate that, and obviously, thank you for just, the relentless love and, always continually to, just be there for me. It's something that I know, not a lot of kids get to experience, a relationship like that probably in their life. So I'm really grateful, and, I love you, and thank you for putting in that time and everything you've done.
I appreciate you, and it's not over. My commitments for life, so I ain't going nowhere. 7 things a son needs from his father. We're on number 4. Number 4 is he needs you to be present. As you fulfill all the different roles you have, you may be pulled into multiple directions, but your son needs you to be present in his education, in his social life, in all areas of his life. Some areas are not intended for mom only or for his friends only. Your presence in all areas will give him the support he needs. So tell me a little bit about being present and having a father is there, not necessarily just his body, but his whole mind, his whole spirit, his whole heart, his emotions, and everything is just being there in the moment with you.
Yeah, I think my experience, with you being there, essentially all around, it not only made me a better person, but I think it just kind of makes everyone around me better as well, because now my friends get to see you, there. And, my experience is my friends love coming over to the house because they had a relationship with you as well. And they were there, just yesterday, my friend came over and asked you for some advice. And he's like, yo, I've been waiting to ask you for this piece of advice because, you throughout my whole life have always been there, not only for me, but also for anyone that's around or surrounding me. And, to be present, I think is what, it's so hard because you go to work all day long and then you come home and having a kid is work as well. So to be present all the time is very hard, and I think you've done a great job at it, and you've taught me a lot about how to be a good father and being present, what that looks like.
Thank you. And I think that when we talk about your son needs you to be present, let's talk about the reason why. I believe that you being present with your son validates him. So when he's sharing a story with you, or he's excited about something, or if whatever it is she's sharing in that moment, you're 100% being in the present moment with your eyes on him. He's watching you watch him. Mm-hmm. He's allowing himself to be seen. And with your eyes on him, he's being validated that what he has to say is important. And then he associates that if what he has to say is important, then he's important. With your eyes on him in the present moment allows him to be recognized as I matter, and what I have to say matters. And I think you can really help build confidence and assurance in your son, not necessarily what you say, but who you're being. And if you're being in the present moment, putting your eyes on your son or daughter with an intention for 3 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, and you're really engaged in that present moment, you really validate your kids. And the reason why I know this is because I've seen parents, especially fathers, who are entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And as an entrepreneur or a CEO of a company, or you're in a certain business where people rely on you, and you're as an entrepreneur, your brain never stops. Mm-hmm. Your job really never stops. You're always constantly in your head thinking about new ideas or marketing ideas, or what's going to happen. Where am I going to take this business, in the next 3 months? You're never really off the clock. You're always working. Mm-hmm. But you can't come home and your son's there trying to share a story with you, and you're up in your head and you're thinking about stuff in the background, because your son's not experiencing having himself be really validated because you're not present. And I'm pretty sure that parents understand the distinction between being there, but not really being there because you still have the wheels spinning in the background.
Yeah.
Do you think it's really important to be heard and validated as though and be received as though what you have to say is the most important thing in my life?
Do I think that's important?
Yeah, like when you were younger and you came and you would share something, and I, stopped what I was doing mindfully and turned and shift my whole body towards you and was engaged with what you were saying, and you saw body emotion and you saw expressions on my face. How did that feel to have me give you that in that present moment?
It's kind of interesting because now looking back on it, I think I never had the opposite to, judge against. I never had you brush me off to where, when you did give me attention, it was like, oh, I got your attention and I'm really excited. I think majority of the time was you cared and loved for me enough to whenever I did speak or when I was around, you gave me that attention. You gave me that, devotion. You turned on your father hat. And I think, you were just very aware and conscious of, and I think obviously you just had genuine love for me that when I was in the room, I was the attention,
So maybe that's what your friends saw when they were with you, standing next to you, was when you walked in and I became present with you in that present moment. They were probably watching that interaction and that dialogue and were probably maybe matching it up with their father's experience. And maybe I should be asking your friends, what did it look like to see you get that, present moment where everything what you had to say was important to me. But I think, especially working with teenagers for over 20 years, they've told me that they really wish that their mom or dad would really have learned the tools to shut down whatever it is that's going on in their head to allow them to be in that moment, because what they say to me is their listening is different when they're present. When they're not present, I can tell they're not present because they don't really hear what I'm saying. But if you're present, you're able to absorb what they're saying and then actually regurgitate it back or really give them some powerful insight. Because you're in that moment, you're really connected with them.
Yeah, I think it's very important as a young kid to have those experiences with your parents, because now you're engaging, you're having a conversation, you're sharing your knowledge with me about whatever the topic is, and I'm learning and I'm growing. But if you're thinking about something else and you brush me off, I don't have that experience, I don't have that conversation, and I don't learn anything. You just go back to doing what you do, and I go to whatever it is I'm doing, coloring. It's like having those experiences and conversations with your kid, I think, are very important because it teaches them things that you're able to share those moments.
What do you think it means when it says some areas are not intended just for mom only or for your friends only? Like, your presence in all areas are needed. Do you think that there's times that you only came to your mom for certain things versus you only came to your dad for certain things?
Yeah, I think I knew, growing up, I knew who to come to for what was the situation.
And was that based on, obviously, your past experience, right?
Yeah.
You were deciding what you needed to hear? What, like did one of us buy your excuses versus not buying your excuses, or like what had you determine whether I'm going to go to mom for this or go to dad for it?
I think it was more if I was in trouble, I went to mom because she would handle it differently, or sometimes she would, hide it from you, so I knew I could get away with things a little bit more. Obviously, my accomplishments I shared with you because I wanted to, show you and prove to you that, I was good enough or whatever it was. So I definitely pick and choose
Which is actually a whole nother show that I would love to do about all the games that kids play.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
There's a lot.
Yeah, like we as kids, we'll play our mom with our dad, and we kind of play off each other because there's a whole racket going on back there. And as a parent, if you don't know that that's what your kids are doing, because when you said there's certain things I tell my mom I knew she wouldn't say to you, you know what I mean? It's like that's where you're intentionally playing this game so that you can get her to, hide you out or to not, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that was the little connection in the relationship and the trust that you had with her, that she protected you.
Yeah, she gave me,
from me,
all right,
whatever,
I'll give you this, but now you have to
I get it.
prove to me certain things.
I get it. So, honey, we're going to talk when we get home. No, I'm just playing. Number 3, your son needs your servant leadership. You may or may not be the boss at work. You may or may not be the pastor or minister at your church. You may or may not be the leader in your community, but you are the leader of your family. And your son needs to see leadership in your home. He needs to see you leading by serving. When he sees you leading by serving, he will better understand leadership and be able to be more effectively lead versus following his peers. As he grows, he'll be better to lead his family, to lead at work, to lead at church, and to lead in his community. So, servant leadership. How important is it to see your father, one, being the leader of the home, not necessarily the only leader, because mom's a leader too, right? In our home, especially, what I'm really proud of is that my wife is an amazing leader, and so we're just different styles of leadership, which is cool because we can play off each other's weaknesses and support each other. But I think being a leader in your family and consciously choosing to lead takes on a whole other responsibility too.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things as a leader of my family, knowing all those 3 little eyeballs are watching me. So it has to, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're holding me accountable, because I can't be saying one thing and then behind your back doing something else.
Yeah.
Because you're going to easily go, well, you're a hypocrite. So I think leading and being the conscious leader in your family is important, but also being a leader of being in service too is important.
Yeah. I think, you definitely led by example. The things that you taught us, you actually did, which, again, I can't really say the other side because I haven't experienced it, but, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure there's, and I guess there's instances where, mom has a small tattoo and I get a tattoo and she's upset. That's something that, as a kid, I'm like, how can you get mad at me when you have that?
And what I love about our family is that because we created a safe space for you guys to have your own voice, one of the drawbacks was that you guys would never hesitate to call us out on something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy because when you decide, I want to be a leader in my family, but I don't want to necessarily create followers. I want to create more leaders, which was the mindset that I decided when you were 6 or 7, and your sisters were just being born. But at a certain point, I knew, at a certain point, they're going to start to discover their own voice, and then they're going to start challenging me and their mom. But I trusted that it'll be good challenge, and we might need that because it'll hold us accountable now to being our word and to also follow, to get us back on track to go, hey, Dad, you said this, you've been telling me this or preaching to me this all my life. What's up? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It keeps you accountable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be hypocritical to be saying certain things and then not have your kids have a voice to be able to call you out on it too.
Yeah.
So that's important. So what do you think about being a leader in service as your mom and dad are being leaders in your home, but also being in service to other people, or being in service or contribution to their community or the world? You think that's important?
Definitely. Could you give me some examples, I guess, as a father, of, things that you've done as a leader in service. Like, what does that look like?
Well, for one, I think that as a coach, as a life coach, and as a transformational trainer for teens and parents, getting out there and creating a safe space for teens and parents and families to discover their own love and their own areas of improvement in communication, and to create a safe space to teach sons and daughters and moms and dads how to share their love courageously with each other is powerful. And having you or inviting you into some of those spaces to watch me do my thing and to be in contribution to families is important to me. So when you ask what example, I can only go off the example that I have been blessed with, which is the opportunity to be in service to other people, and then to be able to invite you in to see that. So what is it? Do you think that's important for me to invite you in to peek behind the curtain and be a part of some of the contribution that I've been doing for the last 25 years?
Yeah, of course. And it's definitely something that, I admire, and something that, I see the growth in the like essentially the spirit that you awaken sometimes for people. I've experienced it myself. You bring the champion out of me, or you tell me certain things that get me riled up. You open up new doors or new possibilities, and to see you share that with other people, it makes me happy to see like it's spreading. It doesn't just stay at home. It doesn't just stay in the family. There's opportunities for other people to experience the same thing. And it goes back to, even like I said, when my friends come over, they're like, yo, they're talking to you more than they talk to me. They're excited to, have those conversations as well. And I love it. And I think it's something that I wish, more people had those experiences,
What I have noticed, and I've never said this out loud, so it's going to be the first time I say it, and it'll be on the radio, but I have noticed that in my service and contribution outward into the community, I have noticed that it really hasn't caused any one of my kids to want to be that specifically. It's not a good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just something it's just an observation that I realize that I haven't really inspired my own kids to want to specifically, intentionally go out. Even though I know you guys make a difference and contribute and be in service in your own way, but not in the way that I have chosen to be, where it's just directly.
Yeah.
And I know you guys do it indirectly in your own way, and you probably are in service with everyone you meet, because I watch that. I watch them and observe and watch you guys really make a difference with people in your own way, and it's more subtle. But I just wanted to share, like, I noticed that none of you guys have said, I want to be a teacher. I want to be where it's a field that you are specifically going out there, making a difference, and then being, compensated for abundantly, because that's the gift that you've decided. And that's okay too. That's your choice and your journey. And I get to not make it, I get to not judge it and decide what's good, bad, right, or wrong, because it's your journey. God gave you that gift, and I'm excited for whatever journey you guys decide and where you take it. And I'm excited for you. All right, stay tuned for more of the 7 things a son needs to hear from his father, right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, STV.
Fruit arranged like flowers? What a delicious idea! Edible Arrangements specializes in creating a variety of fresh fruit arrangements overflowing with fresh, hand-designed fruit and filled with strawberries, pineapple, grapes, cantaloupe, honeydew, and seasonal favorites. Made to order in a size you select and ready to eat and enjoy. You can even add chocolate to any arrangement. Edible Arrangements is always fresh, always appropriate, and always appreciated. Order yours today, 253-0052 or ediblearrangements.com. Edible Arrangements is on Soledad near Bouquet Canyon.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Mission Valley Bank puts the community in community banking. They strive to be your most trusted bank. Mission Valley Bank is happy to sponsor KHTS Holiday Music. Happy holidays!
Your hometown station, KHTS.
And welcome back to the Alex Rubino Radio Show, right here in your hometown station, KHTS. Today we're talking about the 7 things a son needs from his father. Joining me in studio is my son, Mark Urbina. And we've gone through 5 of them, and we're down to number 2. Number 2 is your son needs to see you fail, not just succeed. The best teacher is failure. The best type of failure to learn from is from someone else's. So I think for a son to watch his dad fail is important, because he's watching vicariously and observing and see how his father handles it and how he readjusts. When your son sees you fail and handle the failure well, he sees that it's okay to make mistakes, and that mistakes can be your greatest teacher. A boy who's not afraid of making mistakes will grow into a man positioned to accept and conquer his greatest challenges. You think that's important?
Definitely. I think seeing, you come across an issue when I'm younger, I remember kind of, having you hit a wall in your career. And it was interesting because I felt like the family came to, it was like a family thing. So where mom was involved, and, you guys kind of sat us down and let us know, you communicated with us what was happening. And, now that I look back, that's very interesting. I'm sure not a lot of families do that or share their failures with their kids. They may be afraid to, because they may think that, their kids are judging them, or, you don't want your kids to see the bad stuff,
It definitely takes a huge commitment to put your ego aside. And when you put your ego aside, a lot of the fears go with the ego. So you got to put your fear with 80% of the ego with 80% of the fear. Mm-hmm. And the fear is to trust that if and when I share my failures with my son, or my kids, that they're not going to use that against me. One of the biggest breakthroughs that I'm able to help more parents understand is to trust their kids and be more vulnerable and share some of those things with them. Mm-hmm. And you'll be amazed how much the average parent does not want to reveal any part of failure, because failure has been this universal sign of weakness as human beings interpret. Mm-hmm. I don't want to let them know that I failed or I'm failing, because it implies that I'm weak. Mm-hmm. Rather than, no, I want to share my failures because I want them to be watching me when I turn it around and have it be my greatest breakthrough.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I think that was always nice to see, you break through those challenges, and I think as someone that's confident, you're able to share my weaknesses, because you're going to break through. You know that there's a better side. And I think that's what, sitting us down and vocalizing that was you guys just saying like, hey, we're just letting you know what's going on. And you guys knew that there was going to be that breakthrough ahead.
And what's amazing is that you, from your little eyes, now you're looking back going, I knew now you're saying, you're acknowledging that you think that I knew we were going to break through, but we didn't. And I didn't. You know what I mean? It might have looked like that.
Yeah.
But what I knew was I believed in myself. So I knew that I was going to push through no matter what, whether I broke through or not. I was just going to keep pushing through. But I had to trust that I wanted you to be a part of watching it and observing. And I even opened up a space for you guys to contribute. And I also wanted to be cathartic. So it was like, how do you guys feel about it? And I wanted to create a safe space so you can vent it out or share it or share your fears so that you're not holding on to it and carrying these anxieties around with you into school and having it affect you. I wanted it to be an open dialogue. So a lot of it was just that too, is to create this safe space for us to all talk about it so we can inspire each other how to move forward.
Yeah. I think, real quick, one thing was watching, that happen. It made me feel okay to fail as well. I'm now able to do certain things that I don't know if I could do it, and we had this conversation the other day where I would, jump into a new career, and after a year or two, I start doubting myself and seeing, people around me in that career field and, how successful they are and what it took for them to get there. I at first I started doubting myself and wasn't sure if I was able to do that. And I think knowing and understanding the relationship with failure led me to try new things. Let me just try this. Let me just do this. And if I fail, it's okay. There's no issues. There's no problems if I do fail.
Yeah. And I think you're one of the best at failing and reinventing yourself. No, seriously, and having breakthroughs. And you inspire me at that. You're teaching me as well. Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Alex Urbina Radio Show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.